Welcome to Lindholmen Science Park and this online session on talent attraction and an inclusive job market. We're very happy that so many of you could join us today for such an important topic. My name is Hanna Blomdahl and I will be moderating this session. But you can all contribute by posting your questions in the Q&A section, and I will make sure to put them forward to the speakers. We will end the session at 10 to 1 so that you will have time to make it to your afternoon appointments. So I will soon welcome our three speakers. We have Sofia Klingberg from Afry, we have Pontus Berger from Volvo Cars, and we have Kristian Andersson from Jobbsprånget. But first of all, I would like to turn to my colleagues. Hermansson, you are the CEO of Lindholmen Science Park. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Boahen, you are an intern here at Lindholmen Science Park by the program Jobbsprånget. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we'll start with you, Tord. Why is this a topic that is engaging for Lindholmen Science Park?
Well, there are several reasons for that. And I think if you can look at the bigger picture, the companies and organizations in Sweden, both private and public, have a need for competence, and that will be after the pandemic even more evident. So looking at the opportunity that we have in our nearby local and regional, I think is a good thing. In addition to that, companies, especially with international businesses, need to understand their international market, their global customers. So in that, there is an interest to have a more diverse workforce to understand the international context. So for that reason, it's quite important. So with that, Lindholmen together with Jobbsprånget, we can look at talented people and competent people that are in our neighborhood, but maybe have some challenges to get into the labor market. So we can illustrate that and we can showcase that and potentially even do some matchmaking with companies to see where talent fits in and can make a difference. So for us, I think it is a very important part of how we develop Lindholmen Science Park.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Simon, when you first arrived in Sweden, how did you find the Swedish job market and why did you choose to apply for the program Jobbsprånget?
So I had studied for 3 years after I moved to Sweden, and then after my studies I had a job for 1 year, but after that it became very difficult to re-enter the job market. I remember I had written close to 100 job applications without any positive response. So I found Jobbsprånget. I read many testimonies about how they are able to give opportunities to people who are in a similar situation as myself, and then through their internship program. So I got interested, I applied, and I'm here today.
And how so far, what are your experiences so far? How did you find Jobbsprånget and then working here at Lindholmen Science Park?
I mean, I'm happy that I got this opportunity through Jobbsprånget, and also I got a chance to meet other people who are also in the same program to share experiences and also discuss ideas on the way forward within and after the program. Here in Lindholmen, it has been such an amazing journey for me. I work in a very, I would say, a very professional environment, but also comfortable, flexible, and very friendly environment. People here are really nice, really supportive, and always willing to help. And I've been part of many projects. I think I've learned as a person and also in my career. I feel like I feel at home here, and I'm very lucky to get this opportunity to be here.
Wow, that's good advertising.
It is, and keep in mind that he's talking to his boss. So, but happy to hear that.
Yeah. So we will soon hear from Volvo Cars and Afry about their experiences, but they are both very big companies. So Tord, what would you say, accepting interns or welcoming interns in smaller organizations, are there any specific challenges or benefits?
Well, of course, compared to a larger company, I'm sure we will hear some examples of that, that they have a possibility to have structures and processes in place to handle a more diverse recruitment process. On the other hand, the smaller company, as I think Simon is well pointing out, that if we can get these people into the organization, it has a much bigger impact on the entire organization. Many more feel engaged and have opportunity to learn other parts, other cultures and other way of working, and so all in all, I think there might be a threshold that is a bit bigger, but the benefits are quite big, having this close relationship and, as you say, be part of the bigger family, which is a very nice statement, of course.
Thank you very much, Todd, Simon. And now we will hear from Sofia Klingberg at Afry. Very welcome here. We are excited to hear your talk, so please share your presentation.
Yes, I will.
And Sofia, you are the Inclusion and Diversity Manager at Afry.
Yes, can you see my screen now?
We do, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, yes. So this is, I have 15 minutes and I will talk about Afry. And Afry is the former ÅF and Pyri. So what are we doing? Yes, we are a consultant company and we are providing leading solutions for generation to come. And at Afry, inclusion and diversity is the core value in our organization. It's actually the reason for being, and I will show you a little bit more, some more concrete examples of this. And this is also an interactive session. So I will ask you some questions in Menti in a short while. So keep your phones ready so you can interact. And as a consultant company, we're a little bit competitive also. So we will actually have a quiz competition. So it's a little bit of so fun here. So just activate your brain a little bit. So anyway, so this is a little bit about Afry. As I said, it's Afry is the former ÅF and former Pyri, and we are now approximately 16,000 employees. We are based in, as you see, almost the whole wide world here, and we speak a lot of different languages, and we have assignments in over 100 countries. And we know that diversity matters because this is something we can measure as a as a company working in different all different areas. We work in infrastructure, energy, and industry, and of course we are profitability driven organizations. So we can measure this and we can see that organizations and sections part of the organization that have a large amount of diversity, they are more profitable than other sections that don't. And I will also explain a little bit more about the definitions of inclusion and diversity, because it's not that easy. So just to explain a little bit who I am. We're actually 2 inclusion and diversity managers at Afry, and our first aim at former ÅF was actually to try to bring in all these amazing people that came from Syria like 5 to 6 years ago with the refugee crisis. A lot of them were really, really, well educated and great talents that came to Sweden. So this was like a concrete action that the former ÅF wanted to do something about. So Amir Nasari, my colleague in Stockholm, he got the first possibility to start working at ÅF, and I joined 2 years after him. And we support Afry Global, and now also with the merger of Berger, of course, our job is much more diverse, and now we work with all the different discrimination grounds and supporting leaders, how to think about inclusion and diversity in their daily life. And we also have a new goal at Target, a new target that we are in now in 9 years. We will. Our aim is that we will have 40% female leaders at Afry. So this is something that we are working a lot with also currently at Afry. So we are cross-border recruitment specialists, and we manage our own immigrated engineers program. And I will tell you a little bit more about that. It's actually like a individual coaching matching program where we try to fit in newly immigrated talents into our own organization. So, and doing that, of course, organizations that Jobbsprånget are very, very important, and we need those kind of initiatives to find great talents. So, and another really, really important thing is actually, because you can't work with inclusion and diversity if it doesn't come from the core, and if it doesn't come from the CEO and the highest management team. These are our values, and when you read them like carefully, you see that inclusion and diversity is part of our values very deeply. So we believe in the power of differences, and we are a unique mix of competences. And we think beyond conventions. So brave, devoted team players, those are our values, and those we use them in everything that we do. But values are important, but what is actually more important is leadership. You have to point and to show the leaders to follow with good examples. So these are our leadership criteria. And as you see, leverage diversity and inclusion, it comes first, which I'm really proud of. So how do we actually do this? How do we endorse diversity in all its forms? How do we ensure clarity in all communication? This is not a one person's job. This is something you have to work with every single day. And we have this in our career model when we are we have our performance dialogues with our leaders, and we have this in our employee engagement survey, and in all our leadership courses, and all these tailor-made actions that I told you a little bit earlier that I am doing currently with leaders all over the world at Afry. Of course, we base everything on the foundation of our leadership criteria. Okay, so now is the first question, and here I want you to go into Menti and click in 42043125. So see if, yes, people are coming in. Maybe Hanna, you can help to see. I don't know exactly how many are in the meeting now, so we'll see if we can get some participants. Yes, but because the first question here is like we base our people at Afry is the only thing that we have. That's the most important thing at Afry, and competence comes first. And competence comes in all shapes, colors, backgrounds, ethnicity, everything. So we have to attract and retain and base our recruitments out of competence. So, and this is something we have to be aware of. And then of course, all the people that are new in Sweden, that are really talented, or new in another country, trying to apply for a job at the Afry, we really need to see behind the CV to get to know the persons, to actually, so we find the best people and to attract them into the organization. So the first question here, I know we have a little bit of time stress, so I will actually give it to you now. And the faster you answer, the more points you get. How many newly immigrated engineers and academics have Afry recruited in Sweden for the last 5 years? Is it 152, 375, 276, and 1,615? And I will explain a little bit more about. Yes, wonderful. That's 9 of you answered the correct. And I will actually explain a little bit. These 375 people, these are the people that we have, actively trying to bring in to the organization. in terms of Jobbsprånget, Korta vägen, other initiatives where we have internship, or that we have recruited them directly from their home countries. And then, of course, we have, like in Sweden, it's about every 6 employee in Sweden have a foreign background. So more than 1,600 have a foreign background in Sweden, but these are, these are normal recruitments, of course, but because we base our recruitments on competence and talents. So let me see, there will actually be more questions coming up, but so far we have a winner for this one, and it's Chris. Well done. Okay, so now just a little bit about the definitions of diversity and inclusion. This is something I work a lot with at Afry, because diversity is not per default inclusion. Diversity is our strategy, this is how we want to work with things and to put up a good framework. But inclusion is actually how we follow it and how we live after them. But it's also very important to focus on this also. Like, if everybody looks the same, like you in the team, in the group, then of course someone is probably missing. If everybody looks like me, which, like, in terms of unconscious bias, I will automatically, unconsciously, always would like to recruit people that look like me, that play like the same sports that I do, go to the same university and all of that. This is really, really dangerous for an organization. We have to always be cautious about this and to always think about this. Do we exclude people unconsciously? And what kind of processes can we set up as a big organization at Afry so we don't end up like this? So diversity is, this is all, it's all about, the mix of people and a mix of talents, of course. And as I mentioned, it can be like the strategy of to actually how you want things to be. But it's also about getting to be asked to join the party, or to participate in this meeting, or to getting that job that you have applied to be a part of a group, to feel like, okay, they asked me, so I'm here now. But inclusion, then, what is then? That is, of course, coming to the party feeling like I'm standing here outside the circle, everybody are dancing, or I'm sitting in this conference room, I have a lot of ideas, but no one is listening to me. That is, of course, even more important. So inclusion is getting the mix of people with different backgrounds to work together. And this is really important at Afry. Now, I have a few minutes left, and I will just mention a partnership that we have at Afry that I'm really, really proud of. That, of course, also is a part of inclusion and diversity, and it's about factfulness, and it's Gapminder Foundation. When you know better, you do better. We're really proud of working together with Ola Rosling and Anna Rönnlund Roslung, and to have this kind of collaboration with Gapminder. So now I will ask you 2 more questions, and this comes from the gender equality test that Gapminder have. So now we will test your skills, because it's actually important to know about this. We're making a lot of big decisions in our workplaces, and if we don't know this, then we have to change and get better. Okay, so the second question now. How many companies in the world have a woman as a top manager or CEO? You have 3 results. Around 2%, 10%, or 18%. Aha, okay, I think we have some work to do here. It's actually 18%. I'm happy about that we have 4 of you that answered correctly. So I really recommend you, if you go into Gapminder, they have lots of different tests and test your skills. And I also can recommend the book Factfulness if you haven't read it yet. It's really, really good, especially during a pandemic, a very good book to read. Okay, so let's look at the results here. Okay. Vote Goat, very good job, and Homer was also pretty good. Okay, so now we will go to the next question. And this is actually the last question for today. In how many countries out of 195 is marriage under age 18 legally possible? This question is, of course, also very important in terms of gender equality and SDG 5 for gender equality for girls and women, because here is only one person that did, the correct answer. So it's actually pretty bad. I mean, it's one in 139 countries in the world. It's legally possible to get married under the age 18. Something kind of a big improvement. So now we will see who the winner is for this quiz. And I think it's going to be Thomas. Great work, wonderful work. And now I know time is up, so I will just end with this slide. You're most welcome to contact me at Afry. I'm also on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Sofia. It was really nice listening to you, and it's impressive what you do at Afry, I think. So we will continue with the agenda, but if we have time, I will come back to you with a question later on. So now I would like to invite Pontus Berger to join us from Volvo Cars. Hello, Pontus. And you are working at Volvo Cars with talent attraction, talent management, and social inclusion. So we are enthusiastic to hear you talk. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Hanna, and thank you, Sofia. A lot of things you have to think about and learn about. I will tell you a little bit about what I'm doing and why. Because in my case, it started with a why 6-7 years ago. And why can be, of course, out of a company perspective, but in my case, it started more with a personal engagement, because I saw, I've always been interested in what's happening in society, and I saw a couple of years ago that the city of Gothenburg is very unequal, and I was quite afraid what's happening in the city of Gothenburg, and you have huge differences. For example, if you're living in the northeast of Gothenburg compared to the southwest, the expected life average time for men is a difference of 9 years, and for women 7 years, and less income in the northeast, and a lot of health issues and so on. So I started to think, what can you do? And I knew also 2015 that it was 6 years left until the city of Gothenburg would be celebrating 400 years as a city. So I started to think, can I be part of what's going on in Gothenburg to start a more positive development in the city of Gothenburg? Because I've always been involved in different sports activities and sports clubs and things like that, and taking initiatives. So I thought maybe I can be one little part of a more positive movement. So what happened was that I tried to get the company, Volvo Cars, also taking different initiatives, much more maybe connected to CSR, corporate social responsibility. But I didn't really know exactly how and what. I knew only why, and you need to know a little bit more what you want to achieve. And I was a little bit too vague. So at the end of the spring 2015, I went to my most important sponsor and asked her, my wife, if I could take a leave for a couple of months from the company. So I took a leave for 20 months. I got support from her and also for the company to take a leave for 20 months. And I started floorball activities in the Northeast, because that's what I'm doing in my leisure time. And if you don't know what floorball is, in Swedish, it's innebandy. Maybe you've seen a plastic ball like this, and you can't see the whole stock, but this is a floorball stick. And floorball is the second largest sport in Sweden. Only football is larger when it comes to team sports. But of course, it's also a very wide sport, because floorball was more or less invented in Sweden and developed in Sweden. So I saw the opportunity to broaden the base of members and players playing floorboards. So I started a floorball section in a local club in Berger. And of course, during that time, I learned much more what's going on in some of the areas that are described from the police as social vulnerable areas. In Gothenburg, we have, by the way, 6 different areas. So I started and learned quite a lot. And I realized also we as a company, we can do much more. We are doing a lot of good initiatives and things, but very often it's like Tord mentioned, in large companies, you have a structure, processes, and so on. But also what we intend to have is a lot of silos, and we're working in parallel worlds very often. And the challenge is, of course, to collaborate, to work together and use the synergies. And that's what I also proposed. And I had some luck. I got the opportunity to have a dialogue with our CEO, Håkan Samuelsson, and he is also very interested in what's going on in society and the development. So he supported those thoughts and said, when you're coming back from your leave, the 1st of January 2017, please work with a special assignment to work with social segregation and what we can do when it comes to development of the Gothenburg region, when it comes to those specific questions. So I got the opportunity to work with that from 2017. So I'm belonging to HR at Volvo Cars, but I've been working at Volvo Cars for 32 years, and I've been in fact working more or less in every area of the company, and that's of course a huge benefit. I'm coming back to Tord. I got to learn him more than 20 years ago at R&D at Volvo Cars. And Gothenburg is a quite small city in that perspective. So the network is always important and very good to have to when you're working with all the different questions, of course. And of course, that's the challenge for a lot of youngsters and adults in the suburbs. They don't have that kind of network, of course. But what have I been doing since 2017? Because like Sofia also mentioned, it's about finding talent. And every person out there have got a talent, but very often they are not aware of that. And they are not aware of that we would like to, in the future, employ persons, nevertheless, where you are born or where you're coming from. We want to find talent, and talent is everywhere. So that's very much the why, because you have to develop persons, you have to also, of course, to broaden the picture, what kind of opportunities are available. And of course, education is key to everything. And at the end of the day, it's also about finding talent. But what I've been focusing on is 3 different areas. One is what can we do to improve the number of students leaving the 9th grade going to secondary school, because you have to have grades from the 9th class. And if you don't have that, then you don't have gymnasiebehörighet, as it is called in Swedish. And in the Gothenburg area, we have a couple of schools where only 1/3 of the students in the 9th class have got gymnasiebehörighet. And of course, that is normally important to increase that number, because else we will, the talent base will be smaller, but also it will have a huge impact what's going on in society. So gymnasiebehörighet, that's one thing I'm focusing on. The other thing is different kind of labor market initiatives, and that's for adults. And the third thing is making it easier for employees at Volvo Cars to join volunteering in different areas. So I will come back to those three things, what we are doing there. But I would also like to say that sustainability is a way to earn money. Karina Lundberg-Markov at Folksam, she was interviewed in Dagens Industri during the weekend, and she pointed it out. And I think that's so important to remember, that it's really a way of making money, to earn money, to work with sustainability at the same time. So the business purpose is, of course, extremely important to keep in mind, because if you can find the business purpose, then of course it's much easier to make things also sustainable in the longer run, in the longer term. But when it comes to those three different areas I'm focusing, when it comes to what's going on in school, very much is about role models that the youngsters, the students get the opportunity to meet different persons, adults, describing what they are doing, because there's a huge uncertainty. What can I do in the future? And there is really a lack of role models. So role models is one very important thing. That, we need more role models coming to schools. And also the schools want to collaborate much more also at the same time. But we have things like PRAO, when you can do 10 days, you can spend as a student in different companies and organizations. It has been, of course, halted now during the pandemic, but that's one different, very important thing with PRAO, and that's kicking off again. But it can also be other initiatives when you're going to school. The other thing when it comes to labor market initiatives, Kristian Andersson will describe more about Jobbsprånget, and that's one activity, and I'm happy that we joined Jobbsprånget a year ago. And I want also, of course, to increase the number of participants from Jobbsprånget, but you have to take step by step. But we are also running a couple of other labor market initiatives. I don't know, maybe a few of you heard about one initiative during Friday when I got the opportunity to tell about what we call Volvo Experience Program Production, because that's an apprenticeship program where we combined studies and work at the Torslanda plant, at the assembly plant. But also during these years, I've realized it can be quite tough to manage sometimes. We started something called Clean Car Service, where the cars of employees were washed and taken care of. But we didn't find really the business equation, so we couldn't continue with that. But it, of course, also were a lot of learnings we could use then when we have been working with the other initiatives. And the third one is when it comes to volunteering, we are joining a couple of mentor programs like Produce and Mittliv. But more will come there, and I think there is an area we can develop. But also, of course, during the pandemic, it has been quite a challenge. But that's one thing I really want to develop. But as I mentioned before, so we have 6 areas on the list of the police when it comes to social vulnerable areas. And the city of Gothenburg, they have stated and challenged the city that until 2025, all these 6 areas should be gone off that category on the list. And inspired by that, I'm very happy that Volvo Cars, together with Stena Fastigheter and AB Framtiden, have decided to focus on one of the areas in Tynnered. So that will also be a long-term collaboration, because here's really the target that 2025 should generally be off the list. And hopefully those initiatives, that initiative can also inspire other companies to engage in other areas. But it's no rocket science. We will focus on 4 different areas. It's school, it's what you can do on your leisure time, it's employment, and it's sustainability, those 4 areas. So it's very happy that I'm very happy that there's a larger focus internally when it comes to these questions now. And as I said before, it's very much about collaboration. If you want to take these steps, we need to work jointly, because one part can never solve all the issues and the challenges that we have. And but I see, of course, very often the challenge between the top management who want to see things happening, and also the employees who, when I'm speaking with colleagues, more or less all of my colleagues want to join and add forces. So the challenge is in between. So what you showed, Sofia, when it comes to leadership and the challenge for the organization, that's of course valid in every organization. And here, of course, I need also to challenge the middle management of Volvo Cars from time to time, because it's you have to dare, you have to collaborate, and if you're a little bit uncertain, then start a pilot and test something. So I would like to end to say it's about finding talent, it's about future recruitment, and it's also to find the business purpose. So just go for it.
Thank you so much, Pontus, for that interesting talk. I have a question for you relating to this topic. We have all followed in the media the news about Volvo Cars and the family bond, giving the parental leave for both genders. And it has very much been communicated as a way of reducing the gender gap, and it has been very applauded, at least here in Sweden. What would you say about the responsibility of big companies like Volvo, and also the possibilities to influence culture and achieve change even in other countries? Do you have any reflections on that? Is it good that the big companies set the good example for?
Yes, I can just go back to myself. I have 2 children, 2 boys. They are born 24 and 26. And a couple of years, I think it was 2002, we said in Sweden that the company would add salary up to 90% of your salary if you took a parental leave. And the effect of that was that because I was at home for 7 months with each of my children. And when I was at home for the first time, it still were some couple of older colleagues, male, who argued, why, Pontus, are you going to be at home to take a parental leave? Is that really something you should do? But when we started to pay, it was not so much about the money, but stating that we will cover up to 90%, that sent really a strong message in the whole organization that yes, it's accepted, and the company wants you to do that. And when I took a parental leave with my second boy, no one at all did argue about anything. The other way around, I felt really a support. So I could really feel it by myself. And I think that's what's happening now in the organization around the world at Volvo Cars. But of course, in smaller companies, I think hopefully we can inspire smaller companies, because I have friends working in smaller companies where they are only going back to what's legally required. They're not thinking in these areas, in this direction. And hopefully we can inspire them to take steps like that, because at the end of the day, it's about finding recruiting, and also, of course, that the employees are staying at the company, because if we are losing them, it's so much more, it will cost so much at the end of the day, also when it comes to costs. So you have to broaden the picture and take in consideration the whole environment, and at the end of the day, it's a business purpose in this.
Thank you so much, Pontus. Thank you. And now we will go to Kristian Andersson from Jobbsprånget. Welcome.
Anna, nice to be here, and also nice to listen to both Sofia and Pontus.
Yeah.
Inspiring to them. I will show my screen. Hope
Yes.
you will see it.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. So my name is Kristian Andersson, and I work for Jobbsprånget. Some of you might have heard of it and some don't. What Jobbsprånget is, it's an internship that brings together foreign academics with employers in Sweden. And I wanted to try, I think the two perspectives to keep in mind here is that one is the employers, why employers in Sweden want to be a part of Jobbsprånget is due to recruitment. They have a competence need and they want to fish in another pond that everyone else does. So they use us as a lateral recruitment channel, and for diversity reason, of course. If you bring in people from other countries, you get different perspective, and then you can solve the situations that you have in a broader way. So that's one perspective. That's the employer perspective, why they're with us. And the candidate perspective is that the candidates that applied to Jobbsprånget to us, they are academics. They have, in many cases, several years of working experience, such as myself and maybe several of you. So imagine yourself having this academic background. You have worked for like 10 years or 2 years or 3 years, and then you need to move for some reason. It could be due to refugee reasons, love reasons, adventure reasons. And then you come to a new country and they scream for your competence, but you can't get in because you don't have any network there. So in that case, an internship can be a way for me to just show who I am, what I got, and what competence do I have. So this is why Jobbsprånget exists. It's to lower the steps and to get more people in to show their talents, really. So we have been around now for 5 years, Jobbsprånget, and it's now Sweden's largest internship program for foreign academics. It's no cost attached with participation because the people who are doing the internship, they get payment from Arbetsförmedlingen and Försäkringskassan. And we who work for Jobbsprånget, we are funded by Wallenbergstiftelsen and Tillväxtverket. And those funding models are quite long. It's for 5 years, which means that we have got a great amount of time in order to prove and refine and develop our model in order to make it as easy as possible for employers to be a part of it, because employers are the key for this to work. The internship program as such is 4 months long, and we do 2 times a year, one in the spring and one in the autumn. And so who applies? It's the big batch are between 25 and 40. Many of them come from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on. We have over 100 different nationalities applying to Jobbsprånget. 50% are women. So imagine that candidate pool in terms of engineers and IT competencies. That doesn't really is the case in Sweden. And common for them all is that they speak English. So we used to say that we work in English and we fika and have team meetings in Swedish. But many of them also speak Swedish, depending on how long they've been here and how you are in terms of learning a new language. The competences that we have are from the very beginning, from the top in the beginning of the 5 years, it was a lot of engineers. We still have a big bulk of engineers, but also within IT now. But also when it comes to staff and support functions, purchase, environment, HR, and so on. We also have scientists, architects. Yeah, we have it all pretty much, since people are coming here for every type of reasons. So if you're curious and would like to see if this could be something for you, it's quite easy, I would say. No, pretty much strings attached. So what you do is that you bring forward a job ad, doesn't have to be long, and then we help you publish it on our job site, jobbsprånget.se. And then we have the task of driving and attracting candidates to the job portal, where they apply for the positions they find attractive. So, for instance, which Simon did to Lindholmen Science Park. And then they apply between mid-July to mid-August. And then when you come back from hopefully a good vacation, you have a login to the system and you can see for yourself who applied to your position. And then you can pretty much take two paths. Either you see that, oh my God, these profiles are amazing. And you find a person that you would like to meet, then you interview them. And if you find a suitable candidate, you let me know. And we will help you with the administration part and the connection with Arbetsförmedlingen. So you don't have to become an expert in that topic and do a lot of administration. We will take care of that for you. And before the internship starts, we also educate or train the mentors in order to mentally and practically prepare before the internship starts, how you can set it up, and also in order to make it time efficient. And then the internship goes on for 4 months. And after that, you can either prolong it, which is quite common that you do. You don't have to recruit. It's not a demand in a way. If you don't, it's perfect. You have given this person a reference, which you can call, and the top line in the resume, which is so much worth in order for the new searching new jobs afterwards. But you can also recruit, of course. But it could also be the case that you don't find the profile that you need in order to get this to work. Then we all say, if you post one ad, you interview one candidate. That's it. And then you can walk away. No strings attached. So there's no risk attached to this. Since the start, we have almost 1,400 internships been done. And before the pandemic, it was 7 out of 10 who got a job afterwards. And now during the pandemic, it's 6 out of 10, which I think shows that it's work. The competence is there. So I think we have a good result, and we're proud of it, of course. And we have over 300 employers all around Sweden nowadays. So if you're interested and curious, please let me know by emailing me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And the deadline for being a part of the autumn program is you need to post a job ad before midsummer. Okay, that's everything for me.
Thank you so much, Kristian. I have a final question, but actually I think I will put it to Sofia if you are still there, or maybe you also can answer Kristian. I know, Sofia, that you have been supervising many interns from Jobbsprånget and other programs. If an organization or company is listening right now and they want to welcome an intern next semester, what should you think about if you're a supervisor? Is it difficult?
No, I mean, we have been part of Jobbsprånget since 2016 and when it started. And so it's actually 5 years earlier this spring. And I mean, we have found so many great talents from Jobbsprånget, and also there are lots of other initiatives, but just we know that internship works. So what is important is that you have to look at these talents as, you have to be equal with them as any other talents. They do not want to feel, how do I say, like we're doing this sort of CSR, or that we want to be nice and we're working with like, you know, do you understand what I mean? They want to feel like we're putting the same, you know, qualifications and, you know, standards on them as on anybody else talent. So put like high ambitions and look on all the talents and try to focus on the right, you know, the right competence. So match the right competence into the, you know, that is relevant for that part of the organization. And go for, if you haven't done Jobbsprånget before, take in one and just take it, look at it as a normal recruitment and focus on competence and do the best you can for that person to have a valuable internship. And now you can do the internship also remotely, which we are currently doing. We have 5 interns working at Afry now, and 2 of them are my colleagues now because they are offered, as Kristian said, it's a really good statistic, like they get a really good job opportunity afterwards. And I actually have one of them that didn't get a job at us at Afry, got a job at another organization. So they often, it's a really, really good first step for them to use their competence in Sweden.
Thank you. Thank you, Sofia. Thank you, Kristian. Now we have reached the end of our session. So I really want to encourage you, if you have any ideas or thoughts or questions to any of us that have been participating here today, please don't hesitate to contact us. A huge thank you to the speakers and to all of you that have been listening. And I wish you all a very nice afternoon, and that is goodbye from the studio here at Lindholmen Science Park.